Louisiana, September 1944. The train carrying German prisoners slowed at Camp Ruston, and 19 women pressed their faces against barred windows. They had crossed an ocean in the belly of a converted troop ship, sick and terrified, sailing toward what they'd been told was punishment. Now the locomotive hissed to a stop. Through the dust-clouded glass, they glimpsed guard towers, barbed wire, rows of wooden barracks stretching toward pine forests. Then the guards appeared on the platform. If you're fascinated by these untold stories from World War II, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. And let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We love hearing from viewers around the world who share our passion for history. Your support helps us bring these forgotten moments back to life. 6 American soldiers stood in neat formation. All wore pressed uniforms with polished boots. But what struck the women first, what would crack open everything they'd believed, wasn't the uniforms. It was the men themselves. They were enormous. Not just tall, though most topped, 6 feet, but broad-shouldered, thick-armed, carrying weight that looked like strength rather than fat. Their faces were tanned and healthy. Their movements were confident, relaxed, showing none of the tension or hunger that marked every German soldier the women had seen in the final months before capture. Erika Schneider, 24, radio operator from Munich, whispered to the woman beside her, "They're bigger than we expected." That simple observation, spoken in hushed German, would become the lens through which everything else would be understood. The propaganda had been wrong. Catastrophically, fundamentally wrong, and if it was wrong about this, what else was a lie? The 19 women were Luftwaffe auxiliaries, captured when Allied forces overran communication stations across North Africa in the summer of 1944. They'd operated radios, encoded weather reports, filed paperwork, low-level positions far from combat. Most were in their 20s. Most had believed what they'd been taught, that Germany represented civilization's peak, that enemies were inferior by definition, that Americans, specifically, were soft and weakened, corrupted by luxury and racial mixing. The propaganda posters had shown small, cowardly soldiers dependent on technology because they lacked German strength and discipline. Stories circulated of American brutality toward prisoners, beatings, starvation, humiliation, designed to break the spirit. Erika had believed most of it. She had no reason not to. She'd been 12 when the regime took power, educated in a system that controlled every fact, every image, every whispered conversation in the schoolyard. The Atlantic crossing had taken 3 weeks from Casablanca to Norfolk, Virginia. The women spent most of the voyage in a converted storage hold below deck, rolling through autumn storms, certain they were sailing toward punishment or death. When the ship docked, they were transferred to a processing facility. Concrete buildings, chain-link fences, guards with rifles who spoke no German. They were photographed, fingerprinted, examined by military physicians who were professional but distant. Then they were loaded onto a train heading west. The journey stunned them. They had expected scarcity, rationing, ruin, but instead saw cities lit at night, full barns, fat cattle, children playing safely in streets. The abundance felt obscene, impossible. "It can't be real," whispered Greta Hoffman. "They must be showing only the good parts." But the train rolled for days through Virginia, Tennessee. Arkansas fields heavy with crops, towns untouched by war, people well-fed and unafraid. The good parts never ended. Erika pressed her forehead to the window, trying to reconcile what she saw with what she'd been taught. If Americans were weak, how had they built this? If desperate, where was the evidence? Stepping onto Camp Rustin's platform, those questions became unavoidable. The red-haired sergeant spoke in accented German. "Exit the train in single file. Bring your belongings. No running, no talking. Follow instructions." The women filed out slowly. Erica, legs shaky from travel, found herself 5 feet from the sergeant. She looked up, he looked down. "Name?" he asked. "Schneider Erica. Schneider." He marked his clipboard. Barracks assignment for follow Corporal Henderson. Erica and 4 others walked across the compound in silence, surrounded by Americans moving with ease and confidence, no tension, no fear, just competence. They were strong, rested, well-fed, so unlike the thin, exhausted Germans she had known. How were they so strong? Barracks 4 was wooden with screened windows, 20 bunks, thin mattresses, wool blankets, a small bathroom, and a pot-bellied stove. Henderson showed them around, combining rough German with hand signals. Beds first come, first served. Bathroom shared. Lights out 2,200. Wake 0600. Mess 0630. He stood nearby while the women unpacked, relaxed, neutral, simply present. Erica had expected cruelty, but found none. At dinner, guards marched them silently to the mess hall. The women were directed to a section near the kitchen. Erica took a tray, mashed potatoes, gravy, roast beef, green beans, bread, coffee, apple pie, and stared, unable to process the abundance before her. This was more food than Erica had seen in years. In Germany, rationing had been strict since 1939. Watery soup, black bread, meat once a week. Now, enemy prisoners were served roast beef, potatoes, fresh butter, crisp apple pie abundance that seemed criminal while German families starved. She sat with Greta, Anna, and 4 others, silent, overwhelmed. Greta finally took a bite of potato, eyes closed, tears falling. "It's real," she whispered. Erica ate slowly, trying not to cry, each bite confirming what her eyes had already told her. America wasn't suffering. It wasn't starving. It fed its citizens, soldiers, and even enemies with food Germany could never match. Nearby, male prisoners stared in stunned silence. American soldiers ate the same meal casually, unaware. "How did we lose to these people?" Anna asked quietly. The answer was clear. Germany had been starving. America had unlimited resources. 3 days later, routine began. Erica was assigned to administration under Sergeant Marcus Riley, the red-haired giant from the train. Riley, 32 from Nebraska, stood over 6'3", weighing at least 95 kilograms of muscle. His face looked carved from granite. His voice carried authority effortlessly. He spoke English, German, and French fluently, knew the Geneva Convention by heart, and managed paperwork with the efficiency of a born bureaucrat. He was patient, strict, and utterly immune to manipulation. "You'll organize personnel files," he told her on day 1, alphabetically by last name, check completeness ID, capture report, medical work assignment, flag missing items. He demonstrated once, then left her to work. Erica spent the morning surrounded by hundreds of files. Each told the same story. German prisoners confronted the reality that American strength exceeded propaganda claims. One file noted surprise at food quality, another at fresh fruit in the mess hall. America was strong, well-fed, and capable. At lunch, Riley ate at his desk. Erica watched him move effortlessly, a quiet confidence in every gesture. "You have questions?" he asked. "How are you so healthy? At war, Your country should be rationing. You're all big, because America produces more than we can eat, farms larger than most European countries. Even at war, surplus exists. But propaganda said, "Propaganda lies to make you feel superior," Riley interrupted. "Your government told you Americans were weak. The truth might have made you question winning." Erica felt something inside her crack. "We never had a chance, did we?" "No, not against this," he said, gesturing vaguely outside. "But that doesn't make you less human. You deserve decent treatment. You're just people caught in something bigger than yourselves." Weeks became months. October gave way to November. Life followed camp routine. Work, meals, sleep, letters from home censored, delayed, often bearing terrible news. Erica received a letter from her mother in early December. 4 months old, it described hunger, loss of their home, and survival amidst ruins. She read it 3 times, then folded it carefully. Her parents were starving while she ate 3 meals a day, worked in a heated office, and slept in a clean bed. The guilt was crushing. That evening, she stood outside the barracks in cold air that felt sharp against her face. The compound was quiet. Guard towers rose against a sky full of stars. Somewhere in the distance, a radio played music, American jazz, smooth and complex and utterly foreign. Sergeant Riley walked past on his rounds, saw her standing there, paused. "You all right, Schneider? I received a letter from home. My parents are starving. My city is ruins. And I'm here eating roast beef, warm and safe." She looked at him. "How is that fair?" Riley considered the question seriously. "It's not. War isn't fair. You're experiencing the consequences of decisions your government made years before you were old enough to question them. Your parents are experiencing the same consequences. It's all profoundly unfair, but you're treating us well," Erica said. "Better than we treated your prisoners. Probably why." "Because your government was wrong doesn't mean we have to be," Riley replied simply. "Because we're trying to build a world where wars end and people go home and life rebuilds. Can't do that if we dehumanize everyone we fight. Can't build peace by creating more hatred." He paused, seemed to debate something, then continued. "My brother was at Normandy. He's dead. Your military did that, but you personally didn't do it. You filed paperwork and encoded weather reports. Should I hate you for that? Should I starve you? What would that accomplish except making me as bad as the people we're fighting against?" Erica had no answer. She stood in the cold, feeling small and confused and profoundly displaced from everything she'd once believed. "Go inside," Riley said gently. "It's cold. Get some sleep." December brought unexpected developments. The camp chaplain, a Lutheran pastor from Wisconsin who spoke fluent German, organized Christmas services for the prisoners. He also arranged for the Red Cross to deliver packages, books, playing cards, writing materials, small luxury items like chocolate and soap. The packages arrived on December 20th, distributed during evening formation. Each prisoner received the same contents: a bar of chocolate, a tablet of good soap, a pack of playing cards, 3 sheets of writing paper with envelopes, and a small book in German. For the women, the books were poetry collections, Goethe, Rilke Heine. Erica held her Rilke volume carefully, running fingers over the cover. She hadn't held a book in nearly a year. The simple act of ownership, of being given something beyond bare necessities, felt disorienting. "Why?" Greta asked aloud, speaking the question they all felt. "Why give us these things?" No one had an answer. Christmas Eve brought another surprise. The mess hall was decorated with paper chains and a small pine tree someone had cut from the forest. Dinner was special: turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy, green beans, cranberry sauce, pie. After the meal, the chaplain led a service, hymns sung in German, prayers offered in multiple languages, a sermon about hope and redemption and the possibility of peace. American soldiers attended alongside German prisoners. The guards stood at attention, rifles at rest, faces neutral. When the chaplain asked them to sing Silent Night in German, 300 voices rose in uncertain harmony. Still no hat, Hallig no hat. Erica sang with tears streaming down her face. Across the room, Sergeant Riley stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his expression unreadable. After the service, Riley approached her as prisoners filed out of the mess hall. "My mother loves that hymn," he said quietly. "She always cries when she sings it. Says it reminds her that even in darkness there's light." "Does she know you're here?" Erica asked. "Taking care of enemy prisoners." "She knows I'm doing my duty. That's enough for her." "And what is your duty, Sergeant? Just following orders?" Riley looked at her steadily. "My duty is to remember that you are human beings, that you have mothers who love you and homes you want to return to, that treating you decently isn't weakness, it's strength. It's choosing to be better than the worst things we've seen." He walked away before she could respond, leaving her standing in the cold with the echo of hymns in her ears and the weight of his words pressing on her chest. January 1945 brought news of German collapse, the failed Ardennes offensive, the Soviet advance across Poland, cities falling one after another. In the camp, prisoners listened to radio broadcasts with growing despair, understanding that defeat was no longer a possibility, but an inevitability. One afternoon in late January, Riley called Erica into his office. He sat behind a desk covered in paperwork, looking tired. "Sit down, Schneider." She sat, nervous. Had she done something wrong? "I've reviewed your file," Riley said. "You were a radio operator, meteorological communications, low-level classification, no evidence of direct combat," or he hesitated. "Other activities." She knew what he meant, the camps, the atrocities, the photographs circulating now that made her want to vomit. "I didn't know," she said desperately. "I swear I didn't know." "I believe you," Riley interrupted. "Most didn't know or didn't want to. There's a difference, but it's smaller than you think. When repatriation begins, you'll likely be cleared quickly. Low threat, no evidence of crimes. You'll go home. Home." The word felt hollow, to rubble, starving parents, occupied Germany. Yes, that's exactly what you'll do. Rebuilding isn't glorious. It's just work. "But I don't want to leave," she admitted. "Here, I'm safe. I have food, work. I don't have to face what Germany has become or what we did." "You don't get to hide, Schneider," Riley said, expression hardening. "You don't stay comfortable while your country rebuilds. You were part of what Germany was. Now you must be part of what it becomes." "But I'm just one person. What difference can I make?" "Same as anyone. You can choose to be decent. Treat people well. Reject the ideology that led to this. One person at a time, that's how countries change." He stood. "Get back to work. Prepare yourself. You won't be here forever." April brought warmer weather and news of Germany's collapse. Berlin surrounded, surrender imminent. Prisoners waited with mixed dread and relief. One evening, Erica sat under a live oak near the barracks. Riley approached with 2 mugs of coffee, handing her one. "War's almost over." "Yes? You'll go home soon?" "Yes." After silence, Erica asked, "Did you hate us at first?" "No. I saw scared women far from home who probably didn't want this war any more than I did. But we served the regime," she said. "So did every ordinary German who obeyed orders or kept their head down. Millions made it possible. You're ordinary, that's almost worse. How do I live with that? Same way everyone lives with mistakes. Acknowledge, commit to doing better, help prevent it again. That's all anyone can do. When you go home, remember this place. Remember that strength isn't cruelty. That winning doesn't require dehumanizing the defeated. May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered. Joy rippled quietly through Camp Ruston. The war in Europe was over. In the women's barracks, the mood was funereal. Small groups spoke in hushed tones. Some cried, others sat in stunned silence. Erica sat on her bunk, thinking about Sergeant Riley's size, the abundance of American meals, the casual confidence of guards, and propaganda that had called Americans' weak lies dismantled by reality. They had lost not because Germans were inferior, but because America's system, built on production, pragmatism, and resources, outmatched Germany's ideology of conquest and hatred. Material differences in war were everything. July 1945. Repatriation orders arrived. Barracks for women were scheduled for transport to New York, then Bremerhaven, then home regions under occupation authority. The night before, they gathered for a final evening, sharing plans and hopes they knew might fail. Erica walked outside into humid Louisiana night. Sergeant Riley stood nearby, smoking. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked. "No." She took the cigarette he offered, inhaling despite never having smoked. "I want to thank you for treating us like people, for being," she struggled, "bigger than you needed to be." "We're all bigger than we need to be," he said. "We choose cruelty or kindness, oppression or mercy. You chose mercy." "That's just being human," he replied. They stood in silence as cicadas sang. "What will you remember about us?" Erica asked. "That you were brave, survived, and didn't break. That's worth remembering. And you, that we tried to act honorably, that treating prisoners well isn't weakness, it's strength. We were bigger than you expected, and that made all the difference." Dawn came gray and humid. Women assembled with bags. Guards formed a loose perimeter. Riley shook each hand. When Erica reached him, "Good luck, Schneider. Rebuild well." "Thank you, Sergeant, for everything."